Welcome to Cooking with Carper. Today we're going to go down the sweet road and we're making cookies. We are officially done with our meat unit. Now we're starting our baking unit. We're starting off with something easy to get our grasp around mixing methods. Mixing methods is going to be the thing that we focus on as we move into our baking unit. Of course, we're focusing on skills and techniques and the science behind what makes baked products work. But it's those mixing methods that are really going to lock all this information in and make it usable for you in the kitchen. So let's get started on our cookies for today, which would be chocolate crinkle cookies. The mise en place for this recipe is as follows: cocoa powder, granulated sugar, vegetable oil, 4 eggs, flour, vanilla, baking powder, salt, and powdered sugar. This is an incredibly simple cookie to make and really delicious. So let's get started. For this recipe, like I said, it is super easy and simple. The mixing method that we're going to be using for this recipe is called the two-stage method. We use the two-stage method for cookies that are relatively simple and that you generally use a liquid fat. In this method, what we do is mix together our liquid ingredients, and then in a separate bowl mix together our dry ingredients and then bring the two together. This is to help reduce the amount of gluten that we produce and control the amount of chew that this cookie has. So we're first starting off with, which might not make sense, our cocoa powder, 1 cup, into the bowl of our stand mixer. And we'll be adding 2 cups of sugar. 1, 2. Now this recipe that I have makes quite a bit of cookies. I plan on keeping some of these and putting them in the freezer when they are done. But if you don't want to make this much, then you just easily cut this in half to make a more reasonable amount. And a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. We'll be bringing this together using our paddle attachment. Now that it's all mixed up, you can open up our mixer. And we're going to scrape down the side of our bowl a little bit. There's going to be a little bit of sugar and some batter that's stuck to the side of the bowl that doesn't like to get mixed in. Really make sure to get down to the bottom of that bowl as well. Now we can add in our dry ingredients. First is going to be 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, then of course a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. With all of our dry ingredients in, now we can lower our arm, start slowly mixing together our batter. You may want to pulse a couple times to get the flour worked in without making a big mess. We're just going to bring this together to bring our dough together. It happens real fast. Now we have a choice that we can make. We can stop here, just kind of scrape down the side of the bowl, make sure it's together, and then have a very soft and fudgy tender cookie. Or we can mix this for a little while longer, develop a little bit of gluten, and have more of a chewy cookie. I like to maybe sometimes go with a chewy cookie if I'm planning on making these into ice cream sandwiches. That way it has a little bit more heft and has a little bit more structure to it. So I'm going to mix for just a little while longer. A little higher speed, and then call it good. Now you can see kind of what our dough looks like. It's pretty wet. It's not really easy to work with. At this point, we're not really looking to make our cookies right away. What we need to do is pop this into the refrigerator, allow it to cool for an hour or so. That way it's easy to manage. Once that's done, then we'll start rolling these into balls and get them into the oven. Our cookie dough has been chilling out in the refrigerator. Now it's time to pull it out. It's been a couple hours. It should have set up real nicely. What we're going to do at this point is shape our cookies, put them onto our pans, get them baked. Won't take long. Have delicious cookies. So, first thing, we have our cookie dough. Now when you're looking at it, it should be nice and chocolatey and rich and dark. You should see that it's kind of firmed up a little bit. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to scoop this out into 1-inch balls. Roll them just a little bit. Roll them in some powdered sugar and then put them on our pan. Okay. So before we do that, we have our oven heating. We're preheating it to 350 degrees. I've also gone ahead and prepared our pans. Some parchment paper in the bottom of a jelly roll pan. A jelly roll pan is a pan that has these really short sides. You could use cookie sheets as well. That works just fine. These are what we have here at my house. I don't actually have any true cookie sheets. So parchment paper at the bottom of your pan. That way you don't have as much cleanup. You don't have to worry about sticking. Right. I'll set that there. We've got some powdered sugar in a container also ready to go. Once we form our balls, we're going to roll it in the powdered sugar and then place it on our pan. Okay. So I'll show you a few. I tend to use a soup spoon. I like the round shape. It's roughly an inch or so size, so I can get a nice ball and then work with it from there. Okay, first couple, you're going to find that you're going to have to kind of work with it and figure out what is that right size. Okay. Quick roll. And then into our powdered sugar. I like to kind of drop it a little bit on the side where there's not as much powdered sugar. Kind of knock off the excess. And then onto our pan. You want to make sure that you're leaving a good inch or inch and a half between each of your cookies. They are going to spread out quite a bit, so allow that space. I'm going to go ahead and fill up the rest of this pan and show you what it looks like as we put it in the oven. Here we have a finished pan. You can see how they're all arranged. We've got 12 on here, well spaced. Now let's go ahead and pop this into the oven. These go in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. Set for 10 and then add more as you need. Our timer's just gone off for 10 minutes. So let's look. Now what you're looking for is the sides to just be getting dry. Look in the interior where the cracks are. If there is extra moisture, if it looks wet, then you may need it to cook for just a little bit longer. So I'm going to give this another minute or so. Our cookie's all done. Now we're going to go ahead and pull them out of the oven. We'll bring them up front for you to look at. With this batch done, we can put our other pan that's ready to bake in the oven. And now that we know the time frame that we want, we're going to go ahead and set that time for 11 minutes. Now, when looking at your cookies, you're going to want them to sit and cool for just a couple minutes on the pan. As this happens, the residual heat from the pan and the cookies will allow these to continue to bake, and they will firm up. If we start moving and messing with these now, they're very fragile and they'll break apart very easily. So they just need a couple moments to cool, and then we'll move over to a cooling rack to finish cooling. And here we have our finished cookie. You can see the crinkles and the cracks that have formed. That gives its characteristic appearance and texture. These will be slightly crisp on the exterior and soft and chewy on the interior. If you want to up the game with this a little bit, you could add on a little extra powdered sugar for appearance. Otherwise, these are ready to go. So let's give it a taste. Now we're going to be able to break into our cookie. So again, they're relatively small, they're nice and dainty. As they cool, they do deflate just a little bit. So you kind of get this nice mushroom top kind of look and appearance to it. I really like these for making ice cream sandwiches. You can make the balls a little bit larger and then they spread out a little bit more, and so then once they've completely cooled, they're a great little vehicle for ice cream and other fillings. So when you break them open, again, very chocolatey, very rich, nice and soft.
My favorite.
On the interior, you should see a nice tight structure or crumb. You should see all these little tiny air bubbles throughout your cookie. And that shows that we've taken the time to mix our cookie dough correctly and allowed that egg to work in with plenty of time to give us the texture that we're looking for. So here we go. Like I described before, a little crisp on the exterior. On the inside, it's soft and chewy, very much like a brownie would be. So if you like brownies, but you like cookies, and you want the best of both worlds, go with the chocolate crinkle cookie. This has been Cooking with Carper.